Hi, class, and welcome to General Biology for Majors, Bio181 at Mesa Community College. My name is Louis Obermiller. I am a doctor because I have a PhD that I got from Arizona State University in 1999. My PhD is in molecular and cellular biology and biochemistry. My master's degree is in molecular biology, and my undergraduate degree is in cellular biology. So my interest is in things that are very small. That includes bacteria, viruses, human cells, and I'm particularly interested in human disease. My After I graduated, I went to work for the National Cancer Institute. I also worked for the Genome Institute of Singapore, and I also worked for the Carl T. Hayden VA Medical Center um, in downtown Phoenix, essentially. I, while I was working at the VA, a colleague of mine, a friend that I went to graduate school with, told me that MCC was looking for a person to start a biotechnology program. And I was interested in doing that. So I took the position in 2003. So I have been teaching at MCC for nearly 20 years. I think my 20 years will be up at the end of this year, so 19 years. When I go through this introductory uh, lecture for the class, I'm going to talk about both hybrid as well as non hybrid in person classes because that's what I'm teaching this semester. I also teach online classes, but I'm not teaching any online classes, fully online classes this semester. So to begin, I'm just going to show you Canvas. Hopefully, a lot of you are already familiar with Canvas. Some of you may not have ever even heard of Canvas, but Canvas is basically the learning center of in the brains of this course. So everything that you need to do is pretty much in Canvas, and I'm just going to go through it. So the first thing you need to know is how you get to Canvas. You just go to learn.maricopa.edu, and that will bring you to your Canvas homepage. Now, your Canvas page will look completely different than mine because I have an instructor view. These are courses that I taught in the fall, and then these are courses that I'm teaching in the spring. This course here is the only one that I've actually published. I had to publish it so I could use the student view, and I'll show you that now. But when you guys log in, you'll see your class, and then you're just going to click on that class, and it'll bring you to that class page. There's another way to go to Canvas, and you can go to mesacc.edu, which is the college's homepage. And then right here is a link for Canvas, and you can click on that, and it'll just take you directly back to learn.maricopa.edu. You might have to log in. I've already logged in just to save some time. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this is my Southern Adoption hybrid course. I'm also teaching a fully in-person course, and then I'm teaching a hybrid course at Red Mountain. So all of these dates and everything in here is specifically for the Southern Adoption course. Um, I you'll need to check with the syllabus to make sure that the dates are accurate. I don't want to make multiple videos, so I'm just going to make one. But I'm just going to reference back to what is hybrid and what is not, and what is Red Mountain and what is Southern Adoption. So this is Southern Adoption. This will be a link to this video. This is the video from the fall of 2021. It's outdated because that was a fully in-person class, not I'm sorry, a fully online class, not a hybrid or in-person class. So you can click on that to rewatch this video if you haven't already seen it. And I'm also going to email it to all the students as well because I think it's a super important video for you to watch. So make sure you watch this whole thing in its entirety, as boring as it may be. Okay, so the first thing is that you're going to have assignments. You're going to have online labs at home labs that you're going to do. and you're going to need to turn those in. And a lot of students ask me, well, how do I draw and edit in Microsoft Word? How do I submit my labs and assignments and things like that? So watch this video if you're not sure how to use the draw feature in Microsoft Word. It's going to be extremely helpful for you whenever you're submitting your assignments. If you're not familiar with Canvas, this is the student Canvas guide. And you can click through that, like how do I put a image to my account. You can open it into a new window and then just type in keywords, post a profile picture. And then it'll tell you how to do that. Obviously, you guys aren't an instructor. You wouldn't be taking this class, but you can do the student as well. And then it'll kind of walk you through how you do it, just like a self-help guide. And if you want, you can make yourself a panda or whatever you want. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to home, and all your questions for Canvas could be answered there. I'm this semester I'm doing in person and online office hours, and the dates vary. So if I'm on campus, I'm gonna do in person office hours, and if I'm not on campus, then I'm gonna use WebEx for office hours. So on Tuesdays, I'm at Red Mountain. And so the days that we meet for lab on those Tuesdays, I will be in person, but I can also meet via WebEx at the same time. And then again, on Wednesday from 1:30 to 2:20, which is this particular hybrid lab time meeting right after it. And so, sorry, that's my phone. Right. So right after lab on Wednesdays, if we meet in the lab or if I have a lab meeting that day, I will be on campus. If not, I'm not going to go to campus unless I have to. Um, so anyway, this is how I'll meet through WebEx, and you can click on this and it'll open a new link, and then you can follow that link. Sorry. And that may ask you to install the WebEx app. Anyway, I'm not going to wait for it to install, but you can install it and then you should be able to join my office hours during those times. If you can't meet then, or you can't meet me for my in-person hours, which are in the syllabus, then send me an email and I hopefully can figure out a time that I can meet with you to answer any questions. During exams and your exams, this is for the hybrid class, not the in-person class. In person, you guys will take your exams in the classroom. The hybrid classes will take their exams online, and that those exams require Respondus lockdown browser. That's because we've had some bad seeds in the past who have cheated. We might say it academic dishonesty, but we all know what that means. And so now the college prefers us to use lockdown browser. Now I know that there's lots of ways to try to get around this, but there's also a lot of countermeasures, and I just want to remind everyone that academic dishonesty is really a big deal at a university, and you could risk getting expelled. So I wouldn't do it. It's really not worth it. But if you don't get caught, uh, then there's nothing that we can do about it. But chances are you're going to get caught, and I don't want to go to the dean's office, and I'm certainly sure you don't want to go to the dean's office either. So just make sure when you take your test that you use the lockdown browser, and I'll have there's actually a test session for that as well. When you take your online exams, you're going to need a periodic table, so you can download this periodic table and print it out. When you take an online exam, you're going to show all of your papers to the camera before you take the exam. as well as your calculator, so that I can go back and check and make sure that you're being honest when you take your test. Um, if you don't have Office, everyone that signs up for at any Maricopa Community College has access to Office 365 for free as long as you're a student. This is a link to download that. I prefer that you guys submit your labs in Word. It's easier to grade that way, so you can just put pictures and all that stuff in within the lab itself and submit one document. If you don't know how to do that, that's fine. You can submit individual pictures as well. Just make sure that they're not in HEIC, which is Apple's protocol, because Canvas can't read that. So acceptable documents are for lab submission are PDFs, Word documents, and JPEGs. All right. So the lectures, again, this is for the hybrid. You people that are in my in-person class, you can use this link if you want. If you miss a lecture or if you want to go back and review a lecture, that's fine. For the people that are in my hybrid class, this is the only lecture you're going to get. And so this is the link to the YouTube videos for that lecture. So if you click on this, it will take you to uh, YouTube, my YouTube page, and you can see that there's already a playlist. Um, Again, this is for spring of 2021, but the lecture is exactly the same. I'm not going to make new lectures. I'll make a new intro, but I'm not going to make a new um, lecture series. So anyway, these these are the lectures, and you can click on the lecture. I don't because I recorded this during a live class, so it's like not on your own time in person, in a real time lecture. Then I didn't go through the entire. um, So I didn't go through the entire chapter at a time. So it's broken up. So we cover in this class we cover chapters, um, and then that chapter has a crossword puzzle, which is vocabulary, and then it also has study guide, and then you have a quiz for that chapter as well. So there's basically what you need to do is for this class is for every chapter we're covering. So let's say for chapter one, you should watch all of the lectures that involve chapter one. So you can see here that there's actually three lectures that span for chapter one. So you should watch all of that for chapter one until I start in chapter two. Once you do that and make sure you take down notes, just like you're in a real class, then what I would do is go back and answer the questions in the study guide. See which ones that you know and which ones that you don't know. And then you can tell what you need to focus studying on from that study guide. Now, that study guide isn't an exhaustive list. That means that it doesn't cover everything that I cover because I would spend forever typing that out and it would be like a textbook. But it does hit the main points. And so you should be okay as long as you can answer all of those main points out of the study guide. The other part of this class is vocabulary. So this is you're learning a science and you're also learning a new language, which is Latin and Greek. Most of the things that we talk about are from Latin and Greek, and that includes chemistry. So the vocabulary that you learn is going to be also really important. Um, and also, I will go over the things that have Latin and Greek roots so that you can go back and look at that as well. So anyway, then once you've done, so you watch the lecture, write down notes, do the study guide, see what you need to focus on, do the crossword puzzles, and I'll show you in a minute. And then that's your vocabulary. If you don't want to do crossword puzzles, if you hate them, you can do flashcards. And there's a link for making your own flashcards. And I know that there's flashcards of my class on the internet as well. You can use those. I don't care what you do to study as long as you learn all the material for the exam. So once you've got all that down, you will take a quiz, and you're allowed to take that quiz 3 times. It has a different bank of questions that it pulls from, all the quizzes are online, regardless of if you're in person or you're in a hybrid class. Um, and then even if you get 100 on the quiz, I would encourage you to take all three of them, because you will see new questions that might be very similar to things you see on the exam. And then once you're able to pass the quiz without any outside help, any books or any ancillaries, then I would say you're well prepared for that chapter, and you can move on to the chapter 2. So then you'd go and just repeat the same thing um, for the next chapter. All right. So let's go back to the home page. And so that's where the lecture videos are. And you guys got that. I individually linked all of the lecture recordings so that there's no confusion, because I have different setups for online, and then I have some older lecture videos on YouTube as well. So if you want, you can just go straight to these links, and then you can see they're broken down into what slides I cover from the PowerPoints and with each of the chapters that we're covering. Okay, so tutoring. So obviously I'm the best tutor for this class because I'm the person that makes up the tests. A lot of you guys are afraid to ask me questions or come to my office, or ask to meet me virtually. But that you shouldn't be. In fact, it's really important that you get to know your professors, especially if you want to get a letter of recommendation later on. So I strongly encourage you guys to come to me if you have any questions, if you missed a quiz question, if you don't understand the vocabulary, if there's some sort of concept that you don't understand. I'm the expert on this. Um, so you can come to me, and I'm free. I come with your tuition. But if you don't want to come to ask me questions, or maybe there it's in the middle of the night and you're like, I wonder, what's the valence of carbon? You can go to the MCC Virtual Tutoring Center. You can click on this link, and it will take you to the virtual tutoring, and then there's a biology section. You just click on that, and it will take you to, at some point, here we go. So these are the tutors. Obviously, it's, I don't know, 7:30 at night on a holiday, so no one's going to be in there right now to tutor. But there will be a green light if they're present, and you can use this resource whenever you need to. You can schedule a meeting, send a message to a tutor. Um, all of those are at your disposal. That's free of charge. It's also included in your tuition. There's another tutoring system called BrainFuse that you can use. BrainFuse, you get 10 hours of online tutoring. And after that, I'm not sure what happens if you can pay for it or not, but you can sign in with your MEID and your password. And then they cover biology in that as well. So all those different resources are available to you to help you if you have any questions about this course. Again, I am the best person to ask if I'm available, and so I'm telling you to try to take advantage of that. Okay. So we covered the lectures and we've covered the tutoring. These are the PowerPoints. So the PowerPoints are what I use as a guide when I'm giving lectures to talk about the things in detail. So don't just study the PowerPoints, because the PowerPoints are like an outline. Um, what I'm going to cover is the things that I think are important out of the textbook. And so make sure that you listen to everything I say, because that is what's going to be covered on the test, not just the bullet points on the PowerPoint. And you'll see that when you start taking the quizzes. But hopefully, you don't just study the PowerPoints. When you see the lectures, you'll see I go over the PowerPoints. If you want to look at them individually, you can. They're all here. And in my in-person classes, I will take these directly from the Canvas, and I will download them and I will lecture from them. So these are all the actual PowerPoints that I do in-person lectures from. The crossword puzzles are here. You can click on that and it will download them as PDFs. So you can download it. Canvas tries to read it as well. You can print it out. You can do it. So, for example, the complete genetic code of an organism, that's two across. That word is genome, and that's a super important word. You probably heard about the Human Genome Project, or uh, they've completed the dog genome or the wheat genome. That means that they've decoded every letter that makes a dog or makes a human or makes a fish or what have you. So I don't take up the crossword puzzles. It's kind of like I said, I don't make you do crossword puzzles, but you do need to know the vocabulary for the exams. So the answers are here and you're free to look them up so we can just see if I'm right. Two across is indeed genome. So you can do all the crossword puzzles for chapter one, which I expect you to do, and then check your answers as well. There's study guides for each of the chapters. I'm just going to, so there's a classification and a kingdom. I'm going to skip to chapter two because this is a little more detailed and follows the text. So you don't turn this in. This is just to review the chapter's contents. So you can try to answer these questions: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. Well, I can tell you from lecture that those are the four most abundant atoms in a living thing. Not necessarily in that order. You should know what a neutron is. You should know how many daltons it weighs. And we talk about this in lecture. So all these things, if you take notes in lecture and watch the lectures, you should be able to answer every one of these questions, no problem. And you should do that as well. I don't give the study guide answers because I want to encourage you guys to ask questions, use your textbook to try to look things up. I think that that's a better way of learning than me just sort of spitting out the answer. It's kind of like Googling stuff. And if you're working in a hospital and you have an ER patient that comes in and has a pencil sticking out of their neck and they're bleeding profusely, they're not going to let you have time to go and look it up on Google of, how to tourniquet that. So that's why I want you to learn this stuff um, without having to go back and cross-reference a text. All right. Some things you can, like the periodic table, the genetic code, but for the most part, you should know this stuff. All right. So study guides for every chapter that we cover. For genetics, there's actually some practice problem sets that you guys should do. This is chapter 14, by the way. So you should be able to set up these problems. A lot of all these problems will be uh, on the exam, so make sure that you know how to do that. And I'm not going to cover these yet, but if you get to the point where you can't figure them out, then we can talk. These are the answers. So I've worked out all of these problems already. There's also probably a couple YouTube videos on my page that go over this as well. So these should be the answers that you get, and you can check your answers here. All right. I also included some lecture audio. I don't know, some people may be old school, but these are all MP3 files. So if you want to download those and listen to those, you can as well. So that's all basically the ancillaries. So just to reiterate, um, that no matter if you're in person or if you're in my hybrid class, you should either watch or come to lecture. You guys can't cross platform here because social distancing issues because of COVID and all that stuff. But the hybrid people should watch the lectures. The in-person people should come to lectures. The in-person people can also watch the hybrid lectures if you want. It's up to you. But regardless of how you get the lectures delivered, I'm going to follow the PowerPoints. But remember, it's not just the PowerPoints, but everything that I say, that's going to be fair game for the exam. So make sure that you take good notes. Once you take notes, you should do the study guides for each one of those, which are right here. For every chapter. So for chapter two, let's say you watched lectures for chapter two, you've taken good notes from that. you're ready to test your knowledge, go to chapter 2, do the review questions, see what you know and what you don't know. Study things that you don't know, that you can't answer. Then do the crosswords for chapter 2. Make sure you memorize all of those vocab words. Those are going to be important words. Um, and then you can check your answers. And once you do that, then you're ready to go ahead and do some assignments. And so the assignments tab is here. I'll just go to the announcements next. So announcements is just things like I will tell you I'm going to be late for class. I got in a horrible car accident. My kid is throwing up all over me. Uh, I had to change office hours because I got stuck at this awful dentist appointment. Whatever. I will make the announcements here, and you should get them delivered to your maricopa.edu email address as well. Now, the assignments are here. For this class, you have quizzes for every chapter, and so you can click on this. The first chapter is going to require respondus. So when you do that, um, and I'm going to go ahead and go to student view. So when you do that, you're going to click on take the quiz, and it's going to say this quiz requires respondus. Please launch respondus. So if you don't have respondus, you need to download it here. It will show you how it works and all that stuff. And then if you want to watch that video, and then you'll just download it, open it, and then just go back to learn.maricopa.edu, and then you can go ahead and log back into the quiz. So it's basically like a browser like Chrome, but it's its own browser that doesn't allow you to click out of it or open other pages and things like that. And it also monitors you as well, and then sends me updates if anything fishy is going on, like you're on your phone or you're looking away or somebody else has got a computer in front of you. Okay, so anyway, that's how that works. I'm going to leave student view and go back to my view. So that's only for the first quiz. And for the first quiz, if you guys want, you can use notes for the quizzes. I don't really care. It would be better if you could take the quizzes without notes, because this is a practice for you. Because these are the kind of questions that you're going to see on the exam, but it's really up to you. The reason I have respondus for the first quiz is so you can make sure that respondus is compatible with the computer that you have. I don't want it to come down to test day and you tell me, oh, my computer won't let me install respondus, or I can't remember my admin password. So well in advance, you should know whether or not you able to use respondus, and that way you're not stuck on test day scurrying around trying to figure out how to install it. So anyway, I'll go back to student view and I'll just show you how these quizzes go. So we can do chapter 2, and then in the figure above, how many unpaired electrons does phosphorus have in its valence shell? Well, you're going to learn that valence means its outer shell. And how many unpaired electrons does it have? So the way that the electrons are is that there's 2 in the first shell, 8 in the second, 8 in the third. So we're 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. And so this is 15. So we would have 2 plus 8, which is 10, and 18. So that would mean that phosphorus, because it has 15, all we have to do is subtract 18 minus 15. And that would give us how many unpaired electrons in its outer shell. So that would be 3. And then when you're done, obviously you're going to answer all the questions. You submit it. It says you haven't answered 9 questions, and you're like, I don't really care. So I got one. I got one correct answer. It's not going to tell you the answer. It's just going to tell you if you got it right or not. And the reason is because I allow you to do this multiple times. So anyway, it looks like I missed all of the other questions except the one that I answered. And that's how the quiz works. And it'll tell you your score right away. And you can take it again. Like I said, it'll tell you what attempt you're on. and then you can take it as many times as you want. What's the most electronegative atom? So this one is not electronegative because it has a full valence shell. This one is going to be the most electronegative because it has the most electrons in its outer shell. So the answer would be D. Um, this one has 4 unpaired electrons in its outer shell. This has 3, but it has 5 electrons. This one has 2 unpaired electrons, but its total is 6, and so on and so forth. And so we can go. All we need to know is if it's not full, it's 1 less, and then I should get a 1 out of 9 on this as well. And congratulations to me. I got that right. Okay. So anyway, that's how the quizzes work. I'm going to leave the student view. All right. So back to assignments. Okay. So there's a quiz for every chapter. The quizzes are due on whatever due date it is. For I make them due the day before the exam opens for online. So your first exam will be on February 23rd. Again, this is just for Southern and Dobson hybrid. In-person class, this class meets on a Wednesday, so that's a Wednesday. I have Tuesday, Thursday classes, so that obviously your exam would be on Tuesday, Thursday in person. Red Mountain meets on Tuesday evening, so then your exam would be that Tuesday when it would open, and so on and so forth. So the dates are going to be different. Make sure you pay attention to the dates and when they're due. But so for the first exam will cover the first 5 chapters, and they're all due on February 23rd, which for this particular class is the date that the exam is open, and they have until February 25th to actually complete the exam. So there's a 2-day window, and you can take it on your own time. That's not going to be the case for in-person classes because you'll have a scheduled time and you'll go in and you'll sit in a classroom and take the test. The people that are taking this online, you should act like you're sitting in a classroom taking a test. That means no headphones, no phones out, uh, no distractions, no people whispering things in your ear, because the computer camera is going to be watching you, and this software is really sophisticated. So, anyway, pretend like you're taking the exam uh, in a real life setting in a classroom because that's exactly how it's going to be handled. And if you do anything fishy, you should know. I mean, everybody has been to school before. So anyway, uh, these are all the quizzes and when they're due. So make sure you just follow that, and you can put it in your calendar if you need to. Okay, for this hybrid, and this is just for my hybrid at Southern and Dobson, not at Red Mountain. Your dates will be different. Though they follow a different lab schedule, which the lab techs and the lead instructors set up. I don't do that. So I'm just following their schedule. So for my hybrid class, we will have 4 in-person labs. The reason that we're meeting in person is to teach you the equipment that I can't provide to hybrid. I'm sorry, that I can't provide to fully online students. So, for example, biochemistry of cells requires the use of $10,000 microscopes. I couldn't really pull that off on an online class because I couldn't require someone to buy a $10,000 microscope. It requires the use of something called a spectrophotometer. If you break down the word, it's spectrum, which means range, photo, which is Latin for light, like photograph means light drawing. And then meter, it's just what you think. If you're doing a 5K uh, run, that's 5,000 meters. So it's a measure of distance. So a spectrophotometer is measuring the wavelengths of light and the distance between them. So it's just a light measuring tool. And what it does is, and you'll learn this later on, is it's measuring the absorbance or transmission of light, and then the wavelength that is. So wavelengths have to do with colors. And I'm not going to get into a whole lecture on that, but that's why you're in there. That machine costs upwards of $12,000. And again, there's no way that anyone could buy that. I mean, not a normal person. Maybe if you're a Kardashian, then you could have that at your house. But most people wouldn't drop down $22,000 to take a Bio181 class. Same thing with the enzymes, photosynthesis, and then biotechnology requires, micropipettes that cost $1,000 a piece that I couldn't expect people to buy. So that's why we're doing in-person labs, and that's for the hybrid. The at-home labs, these are pretty straightforward. What's a protist? What's the metric system? Um, you guys are the hybrid class has to buy a kit, and so you will have the means to make petri dishes. You've probably seen them on TV. They're basically like Jello, except they're made out of agar, which comes from plants because bacteria can't digest that. And so it's just a media to grow bacteria on. You're going to do a lab where you pour your own plates, your own petri dishes, the media for the bacteria to grow on. And basically, it's just Jello with some ground up yeast and other things bacteria like to eat. And you're going to swab things like your face and your armpit and your kitchen sink and your bathroom, and then see what grows. So it's kind of a fun lab. Chemistry, you're just going to go over some chemical models and stuff. This is going to be important, and this is going to tie in with the chemistry units, specifically chapter 4 and 5. Then we're just going to do some plants, right? So you can't do biology without looking at plants. We're going to look at some desert plants, so the ones that might see around your house or neighborhood. You're gonna do an osmosis lab, which is water moving across a membrane, semi-permeable membrane. Meiosis and mitosis, so you're gonna just simulate this. Um, we're gonna do some genetics, some population genetics, and then we're gonna do some DNA uh, labs as well. So we're gonna convert the language of DNA, like the genome, A's and G's and C's and T's, into what that actually becomes as a protein, like collagen and stuff like that. Botulism, like maybe you wanted to make some botulism so that you could sell it to your friends so they can inject it into their faces. So you could learn how to do that through the gene expression lab, and it's actually not that hard if you know the language and how to do it. There are some extra credit opportunities here. You can do the syllabus quiz. Make sure you do that before January 24th. It's just going to ask you some simple questions out of the syllabus, so you can look at the syllabus and use it as a guide. I don't think I put a time limit on it, but maybe I did. I guess we can find out. Yeah, no time limit. So, take as long as you want. And once you submit that, it will give you the points. I should have counted this as 0 points because it's extra credit and it wouldn't be included into the thing. So I'll fix that. Anyway, there's extra credit for exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, and then you can do blood donation, or if you don't want to donate blood or you can't donate blood, there's some community service opportunities that you can do as well. Just click on that and it'll explain to you exactly how to do that. You can go to a food bank, hospice, volunteer, um, all kinds of stuff that you can do for extra credit. And that's worth a lot. That's worth 25 points. Here's the exams, right? And so you click on the exam, uh, and then it'll tell you exactly what you have to do, right? This is very detailed for the first test. So periodic table, you can use a calculator, pen or pencil. You can have food or beverages. I don't really care. Um, and just make sure that you don't start this test like right before it's going to close, because it will close and then you won't have been able to answer all the questions. You're probably going to need at least an hour on this, um, if you've studied really well. If not, you're probably going to need more than an hour. So you have 150 minutes, which is quite a long time uh, to take this exam. You probably won't, you shouldn't need more than an hour if you studied for it. So anyway, that's basically the class summary for the assignments. Um, your grades come from quizzes, your labs, and from your exams. All right. So we're gonna have there's discussions. You guys, I encourage you to talk to each other about discussions. For the population genetics lab, you're going to need to fill out this genetic survey. I've already done it. So I have a straight little finger and attached earlobes. And so you guys can reply to this here and then just put in whatever you are. And this data the class will need to complete that assignment. So make sure that you guys do that. The grades, nobody has any grades yet, so I can show you this. Um, but this is where the grades will be. This won't be your view, but um, this is the link to do the office hours, um, and then you can look at your various classmates. These pages are links to different things, different helpful things like the Amoeba Sisters and stuff, and then these are to help you with the online labs. Again, people that are doing this in person, you could ignore this. These links. This won't even be in your Canvas uh, course. But you can click on these YouTube videos to prepare yourself for each of the labs. I suggest you watch them first because every time I do an in-person lab, I give a background about the lab and then how to do the lab. And so you guys should watch that because unless you read the lab, you're not going to get that background. All right, so here's the syllabus, and I'm just going to go over this real quick, and then I think we'll have covered most of the class. All right, so this is, like I said, this is for my hybrid class that meets on Wednesdays, only on those certain lab dates. There's two sections for the hybrid class. There's for the lab 28241 and 28242. I just assign them as group one and group two because that's easier for me to keep track of it than these random numbers they assign to courses. I introduce myself. This is my phone number. If you leave me a message here, it gets sent to my email. So you can leave me a voicemail if you want, or you can email me, obermiller@mesacc.edu. My office is at NU 183. My office hours are right here. And then Red Mountain, I'll be in S268, which is in the Saguaro building. So Monday, I only have office hours by appointment. I try to reserve Mondays for writing grants and doing things off campus, like interacting with colleagues at ASU, working on new courses, things like that. Um, I teach on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. My office hours are on Tuesday from 12:30 to 1:20 at the Southern Campus, the NU 183. This will be every day, every Tuesday. I will be on campus from those times. I also teaching at Red Mountain, so 5:30 to 6:20. I will have office hours in my Red Mountain office, but it'll only be on days that the class is actually meeting there, which are these dates. Otherwise, you'll need to meet me on WebEx and Canvas. Wednesday, 1:30 to 2:45, NU 183. Again, these are the dates that I'm going to meet. And so if it's not on those days, I won't be on campus. So you need to meet me via WebEx. I know this is getting kind of complicated, but um, it shouldn't be that difficult to figure out. Thursday, the it's only by appointment and it's only online. Um, and then on Fridays, I will be in my office for sure every Friday from 11 to 11:50, unless I make an announcement otherwise. So Tuesday and Friday for sure, and then these other days will either be in person or via WebEx, and that link is in Canvas. So lecture for you guys is fully online. Again, this is just for my hybrid students. My in-person class, you'll need to come to lecture. You can also watch the lectures online, but I will be giving lectures. Uh, So, like I said, you need a lockdown browser, and that requires you to have a webcam and a microphone on your computer. So make sure that you guys have that, and you'll figure that out soon enough when you're ready to do Chapter 1 quiz. The intro video I'm making is here now, and I will post that link in Canvas and also email it out to everyone. For this particular class, the labs meet on Wednesday from 10:30 to 1:20 in LS 209, and then the lab schedule, whatever class you're in, it's either group one, right? If you're in 28241, and group two if you're in 28242. Now, for those meetings in person, you're required by OSHA to follow chemical hygiene and safety standards. That means you have to wear long pants or skirts that extend from your waist to the top of your shoe, and you have to wear closed-toed shoes that completely cover your feet. That is required for every person for every in lab, um, including my in-person class, my hybrid class, whatever. You're not allowed to come. I'm supposed to turn you away if you do that or make you wear like trash bags on your shoes. I guess as a punishment. So anyway, just try to keep that in mind. Sometimes I forget, so I keep an extra pair of tennis shoes like in my gym bag um, in my car so that I can go back and change if I'm wearing my flip flops or whatever. Might not be an issue, but just make sure that you have that available. Um, for the hybrid classes, you're going to need to order a kit. That kit is built by the life science, and and in the life science department to uh, coordinate this have partnered with the bookstore so that you actually purchase it from the bookstore. So I don't know if the price went up or if it's $30 still, but last semester was 30, and there may be some inflation in there. It's close to $30. When you go to this link, you can should take you to the custom lab. It looks like it's $30.75, and then you can add it to your bag. And I think whenever you do that, you can choose to either pick it up in person or have it shipped. If you have it shipped, it they charge you based on your shipping address, your zip code. So it's cheaper just to go and pick it up. I'm not sure if they're offering drive up service or not, but last semester they were. Anyway, if you have any questions about that, you can call the bookstore and they'll be happy to help. So you need to order this kit if you're going to have it shipped by the 24th, so you can have it in hand by the February the 1st. And that allows about 7 business days to get to you. Um, or you need to have it in hand by the 1st because I think that your first lab is on the 7th. It's due on the 7th. So you need to get all the stuff and make sure you have everything in your kit for the first lab. The textbooks. So I require a textbook. I sent you guys a link in an email previously, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. There are a lot of options. If you're going to take Bio 182, then you need the second half of the Campbell book because there's so many students. MCC was able to tell Campbell that they only wanted to print it at half versions, so they split the book in two. So the half versions are 181 and 182. The full versions cover both. So if you're going to take 182, you might as well just buy the whole big book. Or you can just rent it. It's up to you. I don't even know if you could find it online or at the bookstore. I have no idea. So I just recommend students get, the cheapest book that's still relevant, which I teach out of the 11th edition, but that one's kind of expensive still. So I recommend students get the 10th edition, which is like $25, or get the 9th edition, which is, I don't know, $15, something like that. The 10th edition has a little better quality text and pictures. Um, uh, you know, for the extra $5 or $10, it's worth it. But then when you jump to the 11th edition, I think it's $120 or something like that. It's not worth it for the pretty new pictures and the few little bit of text that they changed. Anyway, that's my recommendation. You can take it or not, but you're going to probably need a textbook because it'll have some practice questions and things like that. And obviously, you guys know that to get good at something, like sports, or in this case, Biology 181, you're going to need to study. And that means spending about 2 hours outside of the classroom for every 1 hour you're in. A lot of you didn't notice this when you signed up for this class. It says 1 year of high school chemistry is strongly recommended, or 1 semester of college chemistry. But it's not required. So a lot of students will sign up for this not knowing that it's a chemistry heavy course. You're going to need to learn chemistry. You can learn it here. And I tell students, that if I gave 2 students a piece of sheet music to play a piano concert in a month, and one already had lessons, is it possible for the other one to catch up? Of course it is. Are they going to have to work harder? Yeah. So people that haven't had chemistry, you're going to have to work harder than people that have already had it, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's just going to take more time. So to help you out, I recommend this Chemistry for Biology Students by Sackheim, either the 8th or 9th edition. Um, so for the lab manual, right? For the hybrid labs, I attached the 4 labs that we're going to do in person to Canvas. And maybe I didn't show that to you, but I'll do that as soon as I cover the syllabus. Um, so you need to print those out, right? You need to print those out. You have to print them out and bring them to you at the in-person labs. Otherwise, you'll have to buy the whole lab manual from the bookstore, which is $20. So it's up to you. If you think that you can be disciplined enough to print out the labs and bring them with you, then you can do that for free. Otherwise, I would pay the $20 and get the whole lab manual and bring it with you to every lab. And that way you know that you have it. So it's really up to you. You can download them off of Canvas, or you can just go and buy it from the bookstore already pre-printed. It's totally up to you. And again, here's the link to the lab manual. For my in-person classes, you're going to need to buy this. I'm not going to put the entire lab manual online. Plus, I doubt if any of you want to print out a 200-page lab manual. If you do, hit me up and I'll send you an email. But for the most part, it's easier just to go and get it from the bookstore. Um, Obviously, this is an online class. This is a list of all of the computer software that you need. I'm not going to go over this whole thing, but you can read it. Make sure you have it. COVID. Okay, so we're in the age of COVID. We have the Omicron variant coming through right now. Um, Chances are we're all going to get COVID since we're in person. I have a 2-year-old, so I'm going to try not to get COVID. So I'm going to wear an N95 mask, or I'm going to double mask. Um, for all of you guys that are going to come on campus, the rule is that you can be on campus without a mask, but when you're inside a building, and that doesn't matter what building, if you're inside, you have to wear a mask. Now, I recommend that you get a N95 mask or a KN95 mask, but there's a lot of fakes out there. That's a 5-ply mask. The surgical masks are 3-ply. I'm going to use a regular face cloth covering with a surgical mask underneath it until my N95 masks come in. So those are some options, but if you just want to use a washable mask, there's nothing I can do to stop you from doing that. So the requirement is you have to wear a face mask, and I don't care what kind it is as long as you're wearing it. You have to do social distancing, so the rule is 3 feet, not 6, even though 6 is a lot better than 3. And then you have to self-monitor, so make sure that you're not sick. If you are sick, let me know. There's a whole ton of workarounds that we can do to make sure that you don't make everyone else sick, and I'm sure that they'll appreciate that. And then you got to report if you have COVID, just because of the state of Arizona requirements. All right, so like we said, this covers things that are molecular, cellular, or and on organism levels of organization. There aren't any prerequisites, although it recommends 1 year of high school chemistry. I took this straight out of the course catalog, so it's true. The grading is 1,000 points, right? So you'll have 4 exams, and those cover 3 to 5 chapters, depending on what test it is. The It's laid out in the end of this syllabus, and I'll show you that. Each one of those tests are worth 150 points. So total combined, there's 600 points. So 60% of your grade comes from exams, 15% from each individual exam. So exams are the most important thing in the class. They give you the most points. The quizzes, there's 15 quizzes. I drop your lowest 5 quizzes. Each one of those quizzes is worth 10 points for every chapter. And so the 10 quizzes that I count times 10 is 100. So that's 10% of your grade. So every quiz is worth roughly 1% of your grade. The labs, those are usually based on attendance, but I do check the questions to make sure you guys have done those too. So for the hybrid class, you guys are allowed to miss 1 in person and 1 online without penalty. It's kind of like my stuff happens safety net. After that, everything counts for points. So you're allowed to turn 1 lab in late, and I count off 10% per day for that being late. After that, I won't accept any late labs. So you get a couple passes, and that's it. For my in-person class, you guys are allowed to miss 2 um, labs total, same as the other ones, except it's not as specific. Exams. I don't give makeup exams. If you miss an exam, you're going to get a 0. That doesn't mean that, you're not allowed to be sick or whatever. If something happens or life happens and you're just overwhelmed and you don't want to take the test. I've had students that do that. And they're like, I just, I'm going through a divorce or my dog ran away or whatever. If you just happens that your test is on a mental health day, that's fine. You're going to get a 0, but that 0 can be replaced by what you get on your final exam. So in essence, your final exam would count twice. So in order to pass this class, you have to take at least 2 exams and the final. Everyone has to take the final exam. If you don't take the final exam, you're automatically going to lose 150 points, which is 15% of your grade. That will automatically drop you a letter grade. So you have to take the final. The final is not comprehensive. It only covers the last 3 chapters. All right, we talked about quizzes. Lectures for this class are online. It's self-paced. That means you're going to use YouTube and you just log in and watch the lectures whenever you want. Labs are required for in-person labs, right? And then this is specific for the hybrid class. Again, you can go over the syllabus for your particular class. This is only for the Southern Adoption one, the Southern Adoption hybrid. I don't do makeup labs, but you get to drop 2. Like I said, 1 in person and 1 at home for the hybrid. Canvas, we talked about quizzes, crossword puzzles, all that stuff, the lectures. I can withdraw you guys all the way to the very end. So I also teach genetics at ASU, and I can't do that. ASU doesn't give me the option after a withdrawal deadline date. Here, if you took the whole class and you ended up with a D and you needed to get into the nursing program and you had to get a C and you didn't want to take a D, then all you got to do is tell me, I don't want a D, I want a W, and I can enter that in the grade book and then hit submit, and that's the grade you'll get. But if you stop attending, I'm going to assume that that's for financial aid reasons. You're not going to withdraw the class, and so you're going to get the grade you get, which is an F. Or I might choose to withdraw you failing, which is a Y. It's basically the same thing. Academic dishonesty, you guys know that's cheating. Don't do it. If you get caught, it's going to be bad, real bad. So students with disabilities, I'll probably get something from Disability Resource Office. But if you're not sure, you can contact them as well. you can't have visitors, even though it's going to be a great class. You probably want to invite your friends and family over. You can't do that. Uh, Again, if you're not in that class, you're not allowed to be in there. And especially with COVID, there's special registration for veterans. There's an early alert program that you guys can read about. We talked about the tutoring help. This is the lab schedule. This is just for the hybrid, right? So these are the due dates for each of the labs, and these are the YouTube videos that I had the links in the pages. Those are all the labs that you're going to do at home, and then the labs at school are these 4 labs. Now remember, um, it depends on what group you are, because there are 36 students, so they only allow 18 in each lab. So the class is split in half, and half of you guys are going to meet on our one particular Wednesday, and then the other half will meet on the following Wednesday. So if you're in group one, right, you have that lab section number, then we'll meet on February 16th and we'll do biochemistry of cells. If you're in group two and you have the group two lab number, then we'll meet on February 23rd, same classroom. This is actually wrong. I think they changed my lab to 209 from 205. And I made that change up here, but I missed it there. Let me just look. Yeah. So the labs are in 209, not 205. And I'll fix that. All right, this is the class schedule. So this is the schedule that I usually give my in-person classes. Again, this is just for the hybrid. But this is just kind of keep you on pace. So so after beginning on January 25th, you should be finished with chapter 1. That means that you should have already watched all the lectures for chapter 1. You should have done the study guides for chapter 1, the crossword puzzles for chapter 1, and taken all the quizzes for chapter 1. Then you're ready to move on to chapter 2. So we basically cover a chapter a week. So same thing every week. If you fall behind, it can get bad. It's just like, again, back to my reference of playing the piano. You're gonna get in front of thousands of people at a coliseum to play a piece of piano music that you never even practiced before. How do you think you're gonna do? You're probably gonna do terrible, and you're gonna get anxiety from that, and you might be embarrassed, and that's real. That's what we call test anxiety. Um, uh, Same thing as stage fright. So if you're prepared, it's a lot better and easier, and you don't feel those as anxious whenever you're taking the test or whatever. So I really, really, really encourage you guys to keep up. Don't fall behind. It's not good for any of us. I want you to succeed, right? That's the reason I got into this. I promise you that I can make a lot more money in the private sector. Um, but um, I enjoy teaching students, and hopefully, you guys will enjoy learning from me. So, hopefully we'll have a great semester, and I think that pretty much covers everything that I need to cover. Um, so, for those of you in the hybrid, and I'll just go back to the syllabus. So, um, the first time that I will meet with you in person, if you're in group one, I'll see you guys on February the 16th. And if you're in group two, I'll see you on February 23rd. Otherwise, everything is online. Make sure you order your text. I don't do chapter 1 out of the textbook, so that gives you a week or so to get your text in for chapter 2. You should have that in by next Tuesday if you can. There are texts available in the library that you can use, that you can't check them out, but you can read them while you're there. Um, so yeah, order your textbook, order your lab kit if it applies, get your lab manual if you want to do that. Um, and then make sure you bring your lab manual to the labs. Don't forget about your mask, and don't forget about the attire that you have to wear for the labs. And then I'll see you then. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to a good semester.